Hi, welcome, friends. Today, we are going to explore an amazing comedy fantasy feel-good movie called Meow. In this movie, there exists a cat's world far away from Earth. From that world, a cat warrior is sent to take over our planet. However, upon reaching Earth, his powers are neutralized, and he becomes a normal, albeit huge cat. Stuck with a cute family, his life shifts from being a fierce warrior to a lovable pet. Will he ever regain his powers and conquer the world, or will he embrace his new life? Let's find out what happens in this delightful movie. This is your EC Recap. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more adventurous stories. In the boundless expanse of the universe, there existed a mysterious world called Meow, a realm ruled by beings known as Meomians. These majestic creatures, resembling mighty, oversized cats, thrived in harmony for millennia. But their paradise was not eternal. One fateful day, the skies of Meow darkened as a relentless storm of asteroids rained down upon their world. Chaos erupted, and in the aftermath, half the planet lay in ruins. Faced with the devastation, the Meomians made a desperate decision. They would leave their shattered home behind and seek refuge elsewhere. After searching the cosmos, they discovered a planet that seemed perfect: Earth. Its atmosphere was a flawless match for their needs. Confident in their superiority, the Meomian king launched a fleet of ships to conquer this new world. But something went terribly wrong. Upon landing on Earth, the Meomians were stripped of their powers, transforming into ordinary cats. To their surprise, humans in ancient Egypt began worshipping them as gods, marveling at their regal presence. The humans even adopted their graceful movements and developed a practice that would one day be called yoga. But not all Meomians shared this divine fate. Many became mere pets, content to lounge in human homes. From his throne, the king watched this humiliation unfold with growing rage. His people, reduced to playthings and companions? Unacceptable. Determined to restore their former glory, the king summoned his most skilled warrior, ZZ. ZZ, the king began, his voice echoing through the great halls of Meow. Thousands of years ago, we sent an army to capture Earth. But the planet betrayed us. Our soldiers lost their powers and became nothing more than house pets. Now, it is your mission to reclaim what was lost. The king held out a glowing crystal, its light pulsing with raw, untamed energy. This crystal, he said, is the key. It will restore the powers of our fallen soldiers. But beware, if you lose it, you too will become an ordinary cat, powerless and forgotten. ZZ knelt, his piercing eyes locked on the crystal. I will not fail, he vowed. For weeks, he trained relentlessly, mastering the crystal's energy and honing his combat skills. When the time came, ZZ boarded a sleek spaceship, its engines roaring to life. As the ship ascended into the starry void, his mission was clear: reclaim Earth, restore the Meomians' honor, and ensure their rightful place as rulers of the cosmos. The journey had begun, and the fate of two worlds hung in the balance. On Earth, we meet our hero, James, a retired football star who once dominated the field. But life after retirement hasn't been kind to him. Struggling to find steady work, his wife, Linda, a former advertisement actress, now appears in small commercials to make ends meet. Together, they're doing their best to hold it all together for their two kids. Their eldest son, Yoho, is a dreamer. With a camera in hand, he's passionate about filmmaking, capturing videos, and sharing them online. But despite his creativity, the views never seem to come. And there's Yo-Yo, their youngest daughter. Born with paralysis in one leg, she struggles to fit in. Her teachers don't include her in sports, and she feels isolated, with no friends to turn to. Every day, she prays in the park, hoping for just one friend who will see her for who she truly is. But little do they know, their world is about to change. ZZ enters Earth from beyond. The adventure is just beginning. At that time it was raining. A lightning strike hit ZZ's spaceship, sending a shock through it. At the same time, his crystal fell to the ground. ZZ noticed where it landed, but the spaceship lost control and crashed onto an island. Stepping out of the wreckage, ZZ set off in search of his crystal. Meanwhile, James received a call from the current football coach, who asked him to look after his cat. In exchange, The coach offered him the position of assistant coach, which James gladly accepted. He managed to convince his family to take in the cat. While James was dealing with his family, ZZ wandered the streets searching for his crystal. He was overjoyed when he spotted James' house, realizing it was the spot where his crystal had fallen. Eager to retrieve it, ZZ attempted to jump to the roof, but without the crystal, he lost control and fell, his powers quickly draining. At that moment, the coach arrived with the cat and promised James that if he cared for it, he'd get the assistant coach job. However, ZZ's powers faded completely, and he began shrinking. Recalling the king's instructions, ZZ quickly remembered that he needed to clone an animal from Earth to prevent further shrinking. He spotted the cat in the trunk of the coach's car and transformed into an enormous version of it. The cat, frightened by this, bolted away. James, who was about to take the cat, was shocked by the situation and went to the coach's car to explain about the size of the cat. But the coach drove off without listening. Turning around, James found ZZ standing innocently before him. James, both confused and intrigued, brought ZZ home. Linda's eyes widened in disbelief at the sight of him, and she fainted in shock. As they tended to her, ZZ continued his search for the elusive crystal. In the midst of the chaos, ZZ caught sight of his own reflection in a mirror, his body now enormous. Stunned by his transformation, he stood frozen. Meanwhile, Yoho, ever the curious one, pulled out his camera to film the strange scene. But it was Yo-Yo, beaming with joy, who approached ZZ. Just as Linda tries to stop Yo-Yo, she rushes over to box with ZZ, ready to throw down. James quickly steps in, trying to break up the fight before things get out of hand. Frustrated and a little embarrassed, ZZ decides to use his powers, glaring at the family with his laser eyes. He fires what should be a powerful attack, but instead, the family bursts out laughing. To them, it looks like ZZ is just blinking rapidly, as if he's struggling to keep his eyes open. James, trying to keep things light, says, "Oh, that's just his way of showing affection. If the cat blinks like that, it means it likes us." Yo-Yo, buying into the explanation, runs over and gives ZZ a big hug. Meanwhile, ZZ stands there, awkward and unsure, clearly uncomfortable with the whole situation. That night, ZZ sends a hologram signal into the sky, its light cutting through the darkness. One by one, all the cats in the neighborhood start flocking to ZZ's place. As they gather around him, ZZ can't help but feel a deep sense of shame. His ancestors once came to Earth with plans to conquer it, but now, here they are, reduced to nothing more than pampered pets. One of the cats, noticing ZZ's discomfort, casually explains, "Humans have something that controls us, but don't worry, everything's under control. They feed us, they pamper us, they make sure we're comfortable all the time." Frustrated and a little embarrassed, ZZ snaps back, "Well, you should learn how to take control. Just watch me." In the next scene, ZZ, armed with a knife and tiptoed into James and Linda's room, ready to unleash chaos. However, Linda was in the middle of her method acting as a zombie, and her performance was Oscar-worthy. ZZ freaked out, stumbled like a cartoon character, and the knife ended up stabbing his own hand. Classic. Desperate for a less spooky target, ZZ scurried into Yoho's room. He yanked the blanket off Yoho, who was still dreaming of his all-night video game marathon, aimed his toy gun, and shot ZZ right in the pride. ZZ stumbled backward, managed to get an electric shock from a conveniently misplaced plug. The knife, feeling left out, stabbed his leg again. Ouch! Battered but not beaten, ZZ crawled into Yo-Yo's room. But one look at her adorable, peacefully sleeping face melted his villainous heart. He decided murder could wait and promptly fell asleep next to the cutest obstacle ever. Morning arrived with Yo-Yo energetically tumbling onto ZZ, jolting him awake. Zoho, ever the opportunist, recorded the whole scene, instructing ZZ to pose for the camera. James attempted to offer ZZ some breakfast, but ZZ, still skeptical, wasn't having it. The family then went about their daily routine, leaving ZZ in charge. Returning home, the family walked into what could only be described as a tornado aftermath. ZZ, on a relentless quest for his missing crystal, had managed to redecorate the house into a state of utter disaster. Linda, channels ready to unleash her inner Hulk, was held back by James, while Yo-Yo, the unintimidated panda bear chief, protected ZZ. Yo-Ho, of course, captured the whole glorious mess on camera. While cleaning, the family started uncovering long-lost treasures. James found his ancient purse with some bonus cash. Yo-Yo rediscovered her prized Barbie doll, and Linda found her mother's cherished bangles. That evening, a pot of milk boiled on the stove, and ZZ, still bent on mischief, added poison to the mix. But plot twist, Linda had made it specially for ZZ as a reward for finding her mother's bangles. Realizing he'd poisoned a gesture of kindness, ZZ panicked and bailed on his plan. Outside, ZZ spotted a band of thieves sneaking around and had a lightbulb moment. He misdirected them straight to James' house. Late-night noises roused James and Linda, who came downstairs only to find themselves face-to-face with the crooks. The thieves rounded up the family and started asking for money while pointing at them with a menacing eyebrow wiggle. ZZ watched the drama unfold. Yo-Yo, using her best sign language, urged ZZ to vamoose. James and Linda chimed in with their own frantic gestures. Feeling the weight of guilt pressing down, thanks, conscience, ZZ reflected and realized he might have crossed a few too many lines. Yo-Yo's innocent tears sealed the deal. The whole family was sighing him, "Get away, this melts the here" of ZZ. Unable to stand the sight of James getting pounded, ZZ sprang into action. He took down the thieves, and they flew in the air. The family, recovering from their bout of unplanned excitement, group hugged the daylights out of ZZ, their unlikely hero. As the days passed, ZZ grew closer to the family, filling their lives with warmth and affection. They shared countless moments of joy, but their happiness was short-lived. The bank staff arrived, ready to seize James' house. In a fiery confrontation, Linda stood her ground, refusing to let them take it. Just then, James returned and explained the situation. He had helped a friend secure a loan, but his friend had disappeared, leaving the bank to claim the house. Enraged, Linda turned on James, her frustration boiling over. Meanwhile, Yo-Ho received a call from his friend. "ZZ's video is trending," his friend exclaimed. A major advertising company wanted to sign them for a campaign. The news brought a spark of hope to Linda, and her spirits lifted. The family quickly dove into the project, and before they knew it, ZZ's popularity soared. Their faces graced ads, posters, and banners all over the city. The once uncertain future now seemed full of promise. The money came pouring in, and within days they were able to buy back their home from the bank. As ZZ's fame grew, the offers kept coming. Soon, he was being courted by movie studios. One day, during the shoot of a boxing film, disaster struck. On the rooftop, a heavy light fixture slipped and plummeted towards ZZ. Without a second thought, James threw himself into harm's way, blocking the fall with his legs. The selfless act left ZZ shaken, the weight of James' sacrifice sinking deep into his heart. In the next scene, James sat alone at the bar when two mysterious men slid into the seat beside him. They unfolded an old, weathered map and told him it led to a treasure worth $100 million. But instead of keeping it, they wanted to sell the map for just $10,000. With a sly smile, one of the men leaned in closer. "This could change your life for just $10,000. They played on James' greed, feeding his desire for something bigger. His eyes widened, and without a second thought, he rushed to the bank and withdrew every penny from his account. Back at home, Linda was in a panic as she checked their bank account. It was empty, completely wiped out. Stunned, she grabbed the kids, her heart racing. "Zoho, find your father's location now," she shouted. She sped off, taking every shortcut she knew, even driving through no-entry zones, desperate to find him. At the bar, James handed over the money, eagerly accepting the map. As he did, Linda stormed in, her eyes burning with anger. "Why is our bank account empty?" she demanded. James, still caught up in the excitement, tried to explain about the map, but before he could finish, the bar's TV blared a news flash. The screen showed a breaking report. 3 dangerous criminals have escaped from prison. Do not approach them. They are considered armed and dangerous. Linda's heart dropped as she recognized the men standing right in front of James. They were the very thieves on the run. In an instant, the thieves grabbed the money and bolted out the door. As they stepped into the street, they saw ZZ and paused for a moment to take a selfie with him, completely oblivious to the chaos they had just caused. Linda slammed her hands on the steering wheel, furious. She tried to chase them, but her car sputtered and refused to start. Her frustration reached its peak. James, finally realizing the enormity of his mistake, stood there in stunned silence. The weight of what had just happened crashed down on him. Linda, barely holding it together, lashed out, her voice trembling with fury. That money was for Yo-Yo's treatment, James. Her surgery to help her walk again. Now, because of your foolishness, she might never recover. The scene shifted to a flashback. James and Linda sat nervously in a doctor's office, their hearts heavy as the doctor spoke. The surgery will cost around $10,000. It's the only chance for Yo-Yo to regain the use of her leg. Back in the present, James, consumed by guilt, knocked back drink after drink. ZZ stood off to the side, watching him, his face filled with sadness as he saw the man who had always been so full of hope now lost in his own regret. At Yo-Yo's school, they were announcing the annual day function. This year, they included a family running race, where 4 family members could participate. Yo-Yo was excited and wanted to take part in all the sports. She grabbed the family race invitation and rushed home. As she entered, ZZ greeted her with a hug. She handed the invitation to her mother, but Linda replied, "Your father has been missing since yesterday." Feeling a bit down, Yo-Yo drew a picture of their family and gave it to ZZ. Meanwhile, James was completely drunk and passed out. ZZ, determined to help, grabbed James by the tail and dragged him to the ground, licking his face to wake him up. James stirred, confused and disoriented. ZZ then placed his family photo in the goalpost. By seeing the photo, James was overcome with emotion. Just then, ZZ kicked the ball toward him. With incredible skill, James blocked every goal, soaring through the air to make the saves. Not a single goal got past him. Afterward, ZZ handed James the invitation that Yo-Yo had given him. Seeing the drawing, James felt a surge of confidence and decided to head to the school. The annual function began, and everyone made their way to the school. ZZ, having returned home, saw the drawings Yo-Yo had made. As he entered the hall, he noticed some green light flashing. Looking up, he saw a crystal hanging from a tree. Seeing it, ZZ was filled with joy. Now, ZZ went to the terrace, confused about what to do next. Meanwhile, at the annual function, the race was about to start. Some of the other school kids were demotivating Yo-Yo, but she shook off the negativity and, with confidence, decided to participate. James arrived at the school. Though Linda hadn't expected him, she was happy to see him and chose not to express her surprise. The race began, and all the kids were running, but Yo-Yo was struggling. There were hurdles along the way, and she fell at the first one. Seeing this, James and the other families panicked. James and Linda rushed to pick her up. At that moment, Yo-Yo tearfully said, "Please don't fight again," which made Linda cry. Both Linda and James promised her they would never fight again. Meanwhile, ZZ appeared, and the whole family rushed to him, hugging him with joy. James noticed the crystal and asked ZZ about it. ZZ then held their hands and began to speak for the first time, powered by the crystal. James and Linda were shocked, but ZZ calmed them down and explained that he came from Meow Planet. He told them the entire story of how he arrived on Earth. ZZ praised James, saying, "You are a good father," and praised Linda, saying, "You are a good mother." To Yoho, he said, "Never give up. Keep going just like this." His words motivated them all. Everyone was overjoyed to hear this. Meanwhile, the announcement came that the family race was about to start. They told ZZ to wait here, as the match would finish soon, and went to participate in the family race. As Yo-Yo's confidence soared, the other kids, seeing her determination, gathered around and cheered her on. The relay race began, with each family member lined up on the same track. Yoho's team took off, sprinting for the first 100 meters before handing the baton to her mother, Linda. With determination, Linda dashed the next stretch, passing the baton to James with a look of encouragement. James, full of energy, raced ahead, and as he reached the final stretch, he handed the baton to Yo-Yo. The crowd erupted in excitement as Yo-Yo's team sprinted forward, but something was different. Yo-Yo wasn't just running to finish. She was determined to cross that finish line at any cost. As she pushed through, the crowd began to roar with support, urging her on. But then at one point, Yo-Yo stumbled. Her leg braces began to glow a brilliant green, and for a moment, she stopped in shock. Her heart raced as she looked down. ZZ was using the power of his crystal to heal her leg. The braces fell to the ground, completely healed. Overwhelmed with emotion and filled with newfound strength, Yo-Yo surged forward, her legs carrying her faster than ever before. The crowd went wild. Linda stood there, utterly speechless, overwhelmed with joy at the astonishing events that had just unfolded. Meanwhile, Yo-Yo looked around for ZZ, but he was nowhere to be found. Using the power of the crystal, ZZ rose from the ground and ascended toward his spaceship. As he soared into the sky, everyone on the ground turned their gaze upward, mesmerized by the sight of the ship streaking across the heavens. Suddenly, a brilliant green light shot down from the spaceship, enveloping the crowd. The light froze everyone in place, erasing their memories of the spaceship and all that had happened. Even James and his family were affected, their memories wiped clean, leaving them with no recollection of the extraordinary events that had just occurred. ZZ returned to his planet and urgently explained to the king, "We can't take over Earth. The humans possess a weapon more powerful than anything we have, love. With all our weapons, we can't defeat them. We need to find another planet to conquer." The king's face twisted with fury. He roared, "You've destroyed the trust one had in you." In a fit of rage, he snatched the crystal back and sent ZZ off to clean the planet as punishment. As ZZ worked alone, staring up at the sky, memories of Yo-Yo's family flooded his mind. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Yo-Yo had fully recovered. She was filled with joy, playing and laughing with her family. But as ZZ thought of his own family, a deep sadness overcame him, and tears began to fall. Suddenly, a spaceship from another world landed on the Meow planet, breaking his thoughts. A group of friendly dogs emerged, wagging their tails. They told ZZ they were from Bao Bao planet. "On our way to Earth, we ran out of food," they explained. "Can you help us?" An idea struck ZZ. He gave them all of his food and boarded their spaceship to Earth. He went directly to James' house and rang the bell. When James opened the door and saw ZZ, he panicked and was shocked. His family also panicked and shut the door. Saddened, ZZ thought they had forgotten him and was about to walk away. But then they opened the door again and came out with a banner for ZZ. It turns out that the green light could erase memories only in the mind, but not in the heart. Joy filled ZZ as he reunited with his family. And so, the story ends. But in the end credits, while ZZ is cooking for his family, the news flashes that 3 thieves had stolen a map from the museum, and the treasure on the map was real. The whole family became even more joyful and decided to start their journey to find the treasure. And that brings us to the end of the story. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the like button. And comment that if you want to become an animal, which animal do you want to be? Until then, take care. Goodbye.